So I was raised in a left-wing Democrat household that was all about freeing women, women's rights, pro-choice, women having the freedom to express themselves. And of course, interwoven with that was the highly aggressive sexual programming. Okay, as you see, the left is about aggressive sexual programming and identification. And I understand that because it is nature and it is nurture. And then on the right, it's the same thing. Nature and nurture, aggressive sexual programming, the marriage, the big family. Okay, so both Democrats and Republicans have basically over-sexualized their families and their societies. So they're not really any different. But I was raised with protecting women's rights in whatever manner that was appropriate at the time in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. I mean, I was always looking to my mother for some kind of guidance on how I was going to conduct my life and what I should do. And a lot of the suggestions actually saved my life and also gave me the freedom to give another path to women and another observation about what women are under as far as aggressive sexuality and the expectation of family, and then the false expectations, and then also trying to transition from the old world. When you think about when a woman turns 50 and she's menopausal, okay, it doesn't mean she has to die. It just meant that she reached the Hayflick limit. That's where the Hayflick limit, Dr. Leonard Hayflick, opened my eyes to the somatic cells redoubling itself 50 times over as the limit, and then you get to the next immortal germline cell, which is then the next life. But we have trained people and women to think that around 50 is when they should start deteriorating. And they do. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Women want to keep up. Women who are in their 50s want to keep up with women in their 30s and their 20s, and you can't do that. You can't resist evolution and Mother Nature. If you do, you'll die. And so that's where then all the resistance, when people do resistance training, when they're so skinny, when they're stopping the body from conditioning itself to push blood clots through, to push growth through, when they have lack of conditioning to even allow, or developing such resistance in the blood vessels that any kind of growth would then pop the blood vessels. No matter what, not enough resistance and too much resistance causes breakage. And so this whole dying suddenly from heart attacks and strokes and blood vessels popping, aneurysms and strokes and all that is no different than a woman who's 50 years old trying to compete with a 25-year-old who thinks her shit doesn't stink. 25, 30-year-old. So then I'm watching, the whole, worship of Taylor Swift. Well, that's all part of the programming, worshiping youth, beauty, and high sexuality. And of course, it's like the cheerleader, Taylor Swift, and then the football star. Not so much the quarterback because he wasn't cute enough for the system. It was the Travis Kelce. He's a gorgeous man, yes. Very highly testosterone. And that's what the system is trying to do, the whole positive negative. The aggressive testosterone man who's a tight end with the KC, the Kansas City Chiefs. And then you have the highly estrogenic woman who is so talented, who has sold so many concerts, has a very specific regimen, who is in her 30s. And then I'm looking at what I was doing in my 30s, my mid-30s, and how I bagged my husband. I had a lot of life experience, a lot of things in California that I knew that somebody in a smaller town, could benefit from. And so if I wasn't going to make it in California because, I was hot, but I wasn't like all the other girls that came from a good family, right? That was all connected with a degree, with a set of girlfriends that what do you call it, groupies that you would run around with. I mean, that is the formula in California, is that you're part of groupies, you have a degree, and you come from a good family, and that's marriage material. Well, I wasn't any of those. Okay. I mean, I came from a good family, so to speak. I don't know what's good in the eyes of other people, but I didn't fit in with that. I didn't have a group of girlfriends that I hung out with. I wasn't playing that game. I didn't have the degree, and I didn't have a highly connected family to do the matchmaking for me. To be that, oh yeah, she's worth investing in, to have a family with and children. So then I went to a small town, found a man that was just as smart as me, had a lot of potential to fulfill. My husband and I, we met. He's a year younger than me. We met in our early 30s. And so, yeah, so then, and so then I'm looking at then how the system has programmed women, and why hot chicks are dying suddenly. Hot, skinny chicks dying suddenly, highly estrogenic. And I realized that, yes, estrogen is the major contributing factor to blood clots, dying suddenly. Why even the birth control pills that I even took to try to manage my PMDD had the side effects of deep vein thrombosis, blood clots. Why is that? Because of the estrogen. See, and why then 50, like I'm 50, and I haven't had my period since last fall. And I've surpassed the Hayflick limit. Oh, it was hell. But I surpassed the Hayflick limit. And I don't have to be hot and sexual. I mean, I'm cute, but now it's about the brains and maintaining the infrastructure to deal with expansion and contraction based upon the barometric pressure going up and down. It's not about fighting the changes. It's about understanding what they are and all the propaganda, the characterization of the changes women go through. And some women will destroy themselves trying to fight those changes. Because they'll see their mothers, they'll see people on Facebook Reels. I'm seeing people on Facebook Reels, these chicks that are selling hormone replacement therapy. These older matronly women who are deemed themselves as holistic professionals, going like, oh yes, you're going through a change. So here, I have all these supplements and herbs and extracts and everything else to help you keep your youth. Showing a woman who was like before, she was gaining so much weight because, yes, blood type, because she hit her change. She hit that change. And so she's like not knowing what to do. She's bigger and she doesn't understand pulling out crap and eating all food. And of course I understand because she hasn't been exposed to my information or was scared away from it. And then you see the after picture of where now she looks like the girls that are 25. But yes, you can see that she's obviously older than 50. But now she has a body of a 25-year-old, all fit and six-pack, saying that now she can now go out there and be proud that she looks like someone 25, even though she's 50. But not realizing that high estrogen hormone replacement therapy will cause then what's the number one thing that kills women? Heart attacks and strokes. Whether that comes from high estrogen, all the hormone replacement therapy, the resistance to change, and of course, yes, in a higher frequency environment such as this, then all the microbes from the pets, from the environment, from diverse company will then start replicating very quickly, causing the blood clots that these embalmers in the anti-V world are pulling out like strings out of people's veins. Well, why is that? Why are there so much? Now you hear all the, let me finish this. Why is it that we're finding all these blood clots that these funeral home directors and embalmers are pulling out, and even nurses and doctors out there pulling out blood clots? We're in a highly activated environment, high pressure, low pressure. See, when I was 18, 19, and I was going to an alternative school, and there's an alternative school that had an outdoor program, and we were gosh damn, we were doing like that's right, we were doing kayaking and hiking and marathon running and all that. And the director of the program was an ex-con that changed his life around and wanted to show all of us that we can have a better life instead of going down the road that we were going down. So I hiked Mount Whitney. And Mount Whitney is 15,000 feet, 14,500 something feet. And that's the highest peak in California. And as I was on the last part of the switchbacks, because he was saying, Mr. John Malloy, that was the name of the director of the program, he was saying that when you get higher up into the altitudes where the pressure is so thin, okay, oxygen is thin, higher pressure, whatever that is, that you're going to probably get headaches. Oh, and I did. I was fighting a headache the last, set of switchbacks that we were going to. I made it to the top, but I had a raging fucking headache. But I made it to the top. I mean, it was pretty difficult, yeah. We went skiing too and all that stuff. I mean, it was some pretty awesome stuff, that program that was offered. It was called the Foundry. The Foundry School in San Jose, California. Google it. Go look for Wikipedia. That was an amazing school for the kids in San Jose that were going down a different path because of all the different things that were going on during that time. Vast amounts of experimentation, social, societal, and even familial. A lot of kids were falling through the cracks. They were acting out in regular school, so they had to go somewhere where they had to redirect. And that was one of the programs that I was in. And so, anyway, so that was a major memory of air pressure. And when the oxygen is thinner and higher pressure, yeah, and then low pressure, there's specific types of symptoms that happen. And when during from fall to winter, from winter to spring, and I'm getting nosebleeds. Yeah, the change in the environment causes replication, but it also causes weak blood vessels to do what they do. Burst. Sometimes people get things that happen, rupture during the times of the seasons changing. So that's why people get sick and get cancer disease and chronic illness and all the different circulatory issues during the different season changes. That's why some people moved from really cold climates to hotter climates, because the weather is not as aggressive. Why people go from Ohio to Florida, because they can't handle the aggressive climate change, because their body is breaking down. See, I came from California going to Ohio, okay? And yeah, I got really sick when I was here. When I first got here in October of 2010, when I first met my soon-to-be husband, maybe about a year later, give or take. Yeah, about a year later, after 6 months of talking to him on the internet. But I was coughing up a storm. I was so sick. It was bad. And then we went to Florida, from Ohio going down to Florida, and I got sick because of the climate change. Low pressure, high pressure. I mean, I'll tell you. So that's what's going on. And that's what climate change is. I see people denying that climate change exists because they are under the assumption the system is implying that it's all organic. Well, nothing is organic when you think about it. Everything is influenced by somebody, whether it's intentionally someone doing something or someone just doing something as a byproduct of their daily life. It doesn't even matter. You could argue till you're blue in the face that the climate change is from people driving cars or someone throwing stratospheric particles in the atmosphere, but it doesn't really matter where the climate change comes from. No. Are you going to survive it or not? That's really what it comes down to. So climate change is causing so many people's issues. And yeah, the therapies are no different than being around your friends and family and taking all the remedies. There's so many different factors that contribute to why people are suffering astronomically from myocarditis, tachycarditis, cardiomyopathy, why people are dealing with blood clots, aneurysms, strokes, heart attacks. We have kids that are deficient, gluten intolerant, sugar intolerant, salt intolerant, skinny, malnourished. And it's like as if they were climbing Mount Everest and they didn't survive Mount Everest. Like Mount Everest pressure, lack of oxygen, whatever, came down to them versus them going to Mount Everest. That's why these kids are not surviving. That's why these people who are elderly or immunocompromised or even young babies, children, are not surviving because they don't have the conditioning of the blood vessels to push stuff through and release the demons. Last night, I had a little hives yesterday. I had hives this morning, no big deal. I had my armpits open, okay. I had to take a nap yesterday. But I've conditioned, when I feel my heart beating out of my chest, like it was yesterday, that's no different than even the last 3 years. When my heart's beating out of my chest, I know that I have to eat food because I have to feed that energy because it's using up resources doing that. Then I have to sleep. So I take a nap. Okay, so I'm O positive taking on growth and my body is working very hard to push it through. Now, yeah, I could go out there and walk around and do whatever. But in this environment, I would rather have my heart, when I'm in a state of rest, to condition itself to push through the lymph nodes. To condition itself to push what through? To push material through the lymph nodes. Growth. Okay? That's why a couple months ago, my arms were in such pain because it was conditioning, pushing the material through my lymphatic system. And that's what the hives are. The hives are the growth. Is it C. auris? Is it Candida auris? Is it that one highly adaptable in halocene environments, which is salty environments? This C. auris is highly adaptable in salty environments, in hot environments, in dry environments. Okay, so that's why they're saying that this is such an aggressive fungus, Candida auris, that even it's antibiotic resistant to medicine. Antibiotic resistant to medicine. So if you don't have a strong immune system, that when you get that growth of Candida auris that finally invaded your system, because inevitably it's going to, everyone's out there mixing with each other, and you have such aggressive bloom, and you have weak blood vessels, weak circulatory system, weak lymphatic system, you're going to get blood vessels popping, you're going to get blood clots, you're going to get heart attacks and strokes, you're going to get spontaneous combustion. So the system has conditioned women to be so skinny, to be so sexual, to be highly estrogenic, to put all their emphasis on sex and looks, that they are a candidate for some kind of myocarditis, some kind of sudden event because of extreme amounts of bloom in a circulatory system that's not conditioned to be able to push that material through the body because there's too much resistance or not enough resistance. And so when we have put so much emphasis on girls and boys doing marathons, but they can't stay home and go through the feeling of the heart palpitations and feeling of the pain of the body, condition yourself to push things through their lymphatic system and their blood vessels, then they are a candidate for a diet suddenly because their lack of internal conditioning to push things through. The environments up there, like in Mount Everest, has come down to them. That's the sitting ducks in our society. So someone like a Taylor Swift and all those chicks that are in Hollywood, they're all hot, sexual, looking skinny and all that stuff. They're going through their own processes and they're setting other girls up to fail, to try to emulate and live up to their image. And eventually, and so other girls too. And so that's why I do what I do. Because I used to be a hot chick. I used to play that game. Okay? I did. I wasn't a bully. I wasn't snooty to anyone because I didn't have the degree. I didn't have the nice family around me. I didn't have all the groupie chicks around me. So I looked like I was someone that I was marriage material in California. But I was a hot chick, but I did not fit into almost any of the categories out there that would cause then a person be like, oh yeah, I'll marry you and we'll do this and do that. So I was on my own for most of the time, focusing on my career, trying to break into different industries. Okay? So, yeah. So when I'm seeing these 25-year-olds shaking their ass in front of me, saying how, questioning about the J juice, and they're just needling me with shit and trying to fucking discredit me to my face, they think they're so much better than me. They think they're better than everybody else because they're hot for this very short amount of time that they will be in. And that's what is the downfall of women, is women like that put up a very aggressive, almost impossible image, and then they think their shit doesn't stink until they turn into their mother or end up like their mother. And their mother is dealing with cancer disease, chronic illness, or maybe so big or so small, losing collagen, losing faculties. But hey, they're riding on their youth and looks. But remember, that only lasts so long. That doesn't last forever. Okay, so I'm just going to go down my timeline all the way to the last video, and then we'll go from there. So now you know why menopausal women gain the weight. They're supposed to. Because they've now surpassed that Hayflick limit. Now it's up to them to redirect. They die with the program of trying to fight that and try to look like a 25-year-old weighing next to nothing. Or they figure out, okay, if they're going to gain the weight, how much weight should they be gaining? And then this is the thing about blood type. Like I told you, I'm coming from a point of view of O positive. So I'm going to gain all the weight in the world, but now how am I not going to let it go out of control? Well, that's when I pull out the crap and I eat food. And I allow the body to condition itself to strengthen the blood vessels and lymphatic system when there's so much astronomical growth, because that is my blood type. And when I do pick up microbes that I wouldn't know I picked up because you don't know, then I have the strong immune system to push them out of my body so I don't gain astronomical weight or cancer or disease or chronic illness. And I'm not getting too skinny. I'm not starving myself. I'm not taking things that are causing high metabolism, because when you're doing so much coffee, like some people do, or so many supplements to cause an increased speed of the hamster wheel, you still have to replace that energy that you're using up. But people don't, and they spin themselves out of existence. So now you know why menopausal women gain the weight, because their body's attempting to save itself from all the aggressive sexual programming. Women fight that, and they take all the hormone replacement therapies and even the supplements to get skinnier, to look like girls in their 20s, and then they age aggressively under operations, botox, plastic surgery, and heavy makeup. Women hurt each other with those false expectations. Women do that to each other. So that's when I noticed when my husband posted some pictures of me, and you see how people responded to them. You can read that, how people responded, and you can make your own, observations about how people responded to that. And then you look at what I posted, when my husband and I were hanging out together before we got married, with that picture of me with the beer bottle, and I looked highly estrogenic. I was 37 years old, showed you PMDD, it was 2011. That was at a hotel we were at because we took a vacation from our roommates. And we hung out together on the weekend, and this was before we decided to go into the trucking industry. Well, I already applied to Swift, and so did he. And I said, well, we need to get married, because if we're gonna go through truck school together, we have to have our own hotel room, or else if we're both single people going into truck school, they would put me with the girls and him with the boys, and we wouldn't be able to study together. He would be with strangers, I would be with strangers. Well, we didn't want that. So we decided to get married at that moment before we went to truck school. So that was the moment before we got married, before we got onto the truck, before anything. That was when we first met, and we were in that transition of the old world and the new world, which is our marriage. And I was highly estrogenic. I was hot. You see why we got together from two different coasts. It wasn't like he was in my natural environment. No, we found ourselves on the internet. East meets West. Okay, so I was hot, and then I saw the picture of myself when it was 2018, and I was doing so much J juice. So in my other picture, when I was 37 years old, meeting my husband, I had collagen. I had soft features. I didn't have filters on that camera. I looked young. I was 37 years old. Then I put a picture of Taylor Swift, 34 years old, and she looks hot, she looks young, and all that. And then I saw a picture of myself when I was like 44 years old in 2018. And I had so much changes, lost the fat, lost the collagen, skin was stretched over my face. You see the wrinkles under my eyes. You saw that everything was different. And I was really skinny that time. I even wore a bikini that year. I was as skinny as I was when I came back from Hawaii. When I came back from Hawaii. And I was, oh no, was it? Yeah, because before that I was in China and I was doing a lot of running. And when I was in Hawaii, I was doing a lot of running. I was running from the house all the way to Starbucks. That's about a couple miles. So I was so skinny at that time. And I came to Sacramento and it was like 80 degrees dry heat versus a humid heat. And I was running wearing a bikini in Sacramento. I was still hot that time, right? Okay? So I was as skinny in 2018 as I was when I first came out, to Sacramento after China and then Hawaii. San Francisco, China, and Hawaii. So, and then now you see me today. I have collagen. I don't have such thin skin stretched over my face. Okay? I can fluctuate. I have expansion and contraction. I'm not so skinny and I'm not so obese. I am actually working with my environment. I'm uncured. And I am allowed to develop growth because I'm not trying to starve my body and the growth that comes in that I just happen to pick up from either being out there in the public on surfaces or my husband and I hanging out together because he's out there in the world and he's not immune to the world. I can't put myself in a bubble. That's not realistic. Okay? So women hurt each other with false expectations. Women do that to each other. That's how the system fucked women, really. Literally. Trying to make them compare themselves to 25-year-olds who don't have a fucking thought in their head except to look hot and sexual and think they're better than everybody else. And they're posting their pictures of everything, tits and ass and everything, hair and lips and nails, toothpicks with makeup all over the internet, and then they go into OnlyFans or Instagram, and they have to go and capitalize on their hot looks. And some make $4 million every so often. Those are few and far between. But when you go to OnlyFans, that's basically like, was it Temu porn, is the lower end of the porn industry. Some hot chick who has nothing else going on except to show off her body. Which is why my methodology helps you regain the balance. And of course, your blood types will tell you how you will attempt to maintain that situation in your favor. Your blood type will tell you how to deal with those situations, women. Because blood type O, A, and B and the Rh factor determines metabolism. So O positive have a slower metabolism. O negative has a good balance. My husband's an O negative. A and B have a higher metabolism. And so when you have a higher metabolism of A and B, not only will you be smarter, yes, probably even more sexual, but you'll be burning through resources very quickly, which means that your lifelines will be used up faster. That's why you have to know your blood types when you're trying to figure out this environment. And what's sad is those that are O positive that have food intolerances. You're supposed to be able to take on all the food supply, meat, milk, cheese, eggs, leafy greens, all that. And the fact that you have an intolerance to it says that somewhere somebody stopped you from being able to release the overgrowth and take on substance. And I couldn't tell you what that situation was of how someone who's O positive has a hard time with red meat, leafy greens, and cabbage and all that. I couldn't tell you where that came from. But O positive is supposed to be able to take on all the food supply. Okay? And O negative takes on all the food supply too, but they have a good balance of the metabolism of give and take. And then A negative, A positive, B negative, B positive, they have a higher metabolism. And sometimes you find them in the military, you find them in the modeling industry, you find them in Hollywood, but also O's too. And they have, like, I'm an O positive, but remember, I was only given chicken and fish and vegetables and fruit and not a lot of red meat, hardly any sugar, maybe ice cream occasionally. We had milk with our cereal and stuff. But we weren't allowed to have everything was sugar-free everything. Sugar-free sorbets, from the Price Club back in the Silicon Valley time. Sugar-free sunflakes. That was like Frosted Flakes, but it was aspartame and corn. Okay, that was the 80s. And an oat bran was also the 80s. And so we couldn't have junk food. We didn't have chips. We didn't have the donuts. We didn't have the Twinkies and the Ho-Hos like everybody else did. And I'm looking at my lunch, it's peanut butter and jelly and milk and an apple. And I'm looking at somebody else's lunch and they have Ho-Hos, they have Twinkies, they have chips, they have, or they ate the school lunch. I had the school lunches, the pizzas and all that stuff. But that was like 3 times a week. So if I was getting lunch 3 times a week, or 2 times a week, or once, who knows, every other time I was taking a lunch, a brown bag lunch, peanut butter and jelly, an apple or a banana, and milk in my lunchbox. But I needed a lot more red meat. But that's how I was able to stay so skinny. But I could never get a flat stomach as being an O positive. Maybe my sister was able to have a flat stomach, but I always had a little bump in my stomach. Well, that was my programming. I never could get rid of that little bump in my stomach. Pooch. And it was always something like, I was like, how do I get rid of this pooch? And how much dieting do I have to do to look like those models over there? But I'm O positive, trying to compare myself to those who are RH negative or A and B positive or negative. See, that's how women can screw themselves when they don't realize what they're comparing themselves to biologically. It may not even be possible, and you can hurt yourself trying to compare yourself to somebody who has a very different metabolism or blood type programming. And so men will either make or break their women as well with all of their pie in the sky expectations looking at the porn industry, porn stars. If men really respected you, they would not expect you to starve yourself in order to please them. They would not use you as a sexual plaything all the time. Women, you're supposed to gain the weight to save yourself, but not too much weight and not too little weight, but you're supposed to fluctuate. Men who trade their wives in for younger models, you were just PUSSY to them. I'm serious. You were just a broad mare because maybe you're having a bunch of kids for him to please the in-laws, to please society, to get into the exclusive clubs of preschools and play dates and groups of women who hang out together. If I didn't have any kids and I don't have a degree and I don't have a group of women to hang out with, I'm always on the outside looking in. Women sometimes have kids so they can be accepted by the society around them, so they can feel a part of things. You were just a piece for him. You're just an entrance into exclusive clubs. That's how some men have screwed up women. Granted, some women have mental issues, and I wouldn't want you to be with a black widow, so I understand that, why you'd walk away. Okay? But men who are such cliche screwing their secretary, that's why women cannot depend upon men. Really, she has to find a way to save herself. But we have developed women to think that youth and sexuality is so much better than brains, longevity, and consistency. Maybe it's time for women to look at themselves in a different way besides a farm animal. Because that's how some men treat women, as a farm animal. Have a bunch of kids, be on your knees as soon as possible, and be at home in hardly anything, the 1950s housewife, and have food on the table, the house cleaned, and the kids in perfect order. And that's how some of these men have trained their women to be and act like, and that's why these women are screwed up. Because of those 1950s mentality and then the 1960s over-sexualization. And so that's why I put a picture of myself and my husband, but I showed you the picture of summer of 2011, estrogenic 37. And I also had PMDD. So that heavy estrogenic programming caused then the PMDD, which wasn't even known back then. I wasn't lucky enough to have cancer, disease, and chronic illness that was recognized by the average population. Oh, I had PMS. Oh, Jillian, suck it up. You have PMS. So does every other woman. Not really. But I wasn't going to drug it away. And plus, I'm O positive. I needed the coffee. They're saying, oh, you should stay off of coffee. Women with PMS should stay off of coffee. No, that was the thing that was keeping me fucking alive and sane. And now you're seeing that those who are O positive need the coffee. But women who are A positive, A negative, B positive, B negative, AB positive, negative, or even O negative, they're like, oh, well, that's your problem. You should stay away from coffee, stay away from this food, that food, whatever. They're trying to, these A, B negatives and whatever are trying to tell an O positive to starve themselves. That's how women fuck each other. Because they don't even know their own damn blood type. So I was only 3 years older than Taylor Swift when I met my husband. I know exactly what she's going through. Hormonally, she is and I was in the prime of our life and highly sexualized. I'm not trying to compare myself to her as far as talent-wise because we both were trained in different areas, but you can see the biological programming. Hot chicks are estrogenic and they have a predictable outcome of that programming. I'm not taking away from their contributions to humanity, but if you have the freedom, find a way to quit while you're ahead so you don't squeeze out the last lifeline because you're trying to keep up with somebody else or something else. Remember, women are held under the thumb of their husbands, their sons, their parents, and in-laws. I know how difficult it is for women to free themselves from the constraints of major expectations. Only the strong women will survive their community, even their own immune system. Many will cater to everyone around them because they don't have the strength to surpass what was forced on them as a child. And so when they reach that Hayflick limit of 50, and even before that, and the body starts changing, they will either keep taking themselves notches down to the point of where they destroy themselves, or they will find a way to redirect and embrace the changes, but not let it destroy them and kill them. Which is why you want your daughters to be relatively self-sufficient, because the fight to free yourself, to save yourself, will be very difficult, especially in this environment. But I also understand it may be impossible. Theoretically, that's where I'm coming from. That's where I think women should go. But you know how that is out there. The reality could be quite different. Some women cannot escape that. And I understand that. That's why I don't want them to listen to me. I know where they're coming from as far as comments and how they see me, and I'm fine with that because they're coming from a very different programming that is so vastly different that there's no way to really see eye to eye. And so you find the areas that you have some alignment in. But I finally now see why things are what they are. And I'm not trying to resist it. I understand. Okay, so then, so I showed you summer of 2011, estrogenic, 37. I had PMDD that was not recognized, but I was definitely vilified for how I needed to save myself. And then 2018 on JJ, skinny, aging, and 44. Okay, so you saw that. Then you look at me today at 50 in 2024. Okay, and I look like a combination between my youth and, a combination between my 37 and 44. So I'm able to fluctuate with the environment. And I don't need to look like somebody who wants to attract a predator. I'm not trying to do that. Women, it's about your brain. When you are given money, beauty, and innovation, at some point you have to pay the piper. Sometimes it's really with your life, especially if you resist evolution. So pictures of those clots that the funeral home embalmers found were the fast-moving growth the person could not pass and release. And so the resistance and the weakness of the blood vessels caused blood vessels to pop and even clot and stop the blood flow, and then, of course, die suddenly. That's why you have to be able to deal with heart palpitations and high blood pressure and low blood pressure and relative equilibrium and eat all food. You don't want too low blood pressure. You don't want too high blood pressure. If you're not going, see, low blood pressure, your body isn't pumping the blood. And so, you're stagnant. Too high blood pressure and you're not feeding it to replace the energy being used. You're going to break blood vessels or who knows what. Okay. So you have to understand how that works. That's why you have to be able to deal with heart palpitations and high blood pressure and low blood pressure and relative equilibrium and eat all food. As soon as you stop your internal body from doing the necessary expansion and contraction, yeah, you'll get growth, but that growth will destroy you because we're in climate change. Instead of going out there and running marathons, training your muscles, do superhuman things like people do, stay home and deal with heart palpitations if you have them, and symptoms and disease, and condition your blood vessels to deal with growth within, expansion, contraction, and push things through. And make sure that you're not trying to stop your body from perspiring. You're not trying to stop your lymphatic system from releasing. You're not taking Imodium. You're not doing all these things to stop your blood vessels and everything else from releasing. And you allow things to do what it needs to do. And so that's why some people are experiencing spontaneous diarrhea. That's why some people are experiencing spontaneous nosebleeds. It's the blood vessels popping. And or it's the body needing urgently to release stuff out of the colon. And at some point, you'll train your body to know that something's going to happen and you won't shit your pants, that you can squeeze your ass and hold it in until you get to a bathroom and then let loose. But when you haven't trained your body to do that, that's when you see people have accidents, because they still have to condition their body to know when it's going to happen and then to get to a safe place and train it to do it. Just like learning how to go to the bathroom again. Potty training. And when you think about it, in this environment, 50-year-olds are going to be potty training. And when you think about it, it's pretty crazy, right? Everything comes full circle. Okay? And so allow your heart to condition itself to strengthen the blood vessels so you can push potential blood clots through the system and out the system. When someone is too muscular, they're too resistant. When someone is too soft, blood vessels are not strong enough. You see what the system is doing. It took what you thought was normal and they weaponize it because people have a hard time changing and they resist change. When kids are too malnourished, they haven't built up their immune system to deal with climate change within their body. That's why these kids can't afford to be picky around the food table but they are, because they're intolerant. And so they have a weak immune system, and a lot of them die suddenly at 15, 14, 13, 12, 11. Weak blood vessels. When you take vasoconstrictors and vasodilators in medicine, you're forcing the body to do what it's not conditioned to do, and that eventually causes breakage and blood clots or blood vessels popping. What do you mean blood clots? Because when you vasoconstrict something, then you're causing the constriction of your blood vessels. Things grow. They can't pass through, so they grow. There's no blood flow, really, no strong blood flow. And it builds up pressure, and then sometimes blood clots happen, or the immune system then takes the foreign life, and cordons it off somewhere so it can expand. And then you have a foreign entity that's called a tumor, called cancer. Okay? And so staying on blood thinners, you're almost like trying to become a hemophiliac, because, when you get injured and now your system is trying to repair that injury and you're immobile, you're not moving, you'll get blood clots, right? That's why the people who are injured and have to be on their back or on their butt, and so the body isn't getting that movement it's used to because that person was so active, but they wore down their knees and legs, then they're at risk of getting blood clots, then they're on blood thinners. And so staying on blood thinners, you're almost like trying to become a hemophiliac. But when people have injuries and weak cardiovascular system and weak lymphatic system, weak circulatory system, and they just have to sit on their butt because of an injury, they run the risk of getting blood clots. But staying on your blood thinners also has its own drawbacks. And you can Google the side effects of staying on blood thinners. Well, you cut yourself and then you bleed out, you die. You don't even need to read the side effects. It's dangerous to be on blood thinners. That's why these elderly people who have thin blood and papery skin, they could die from a cut. Okay? That's what's dangerous for the elderly. They basically they're starving. The elderly are starving. Malnourished, bodies breaking down, papery thin skin, can't handle milk, meat, cheese, eggs, and fruits and vegetables because it's too much. Now you see people who are 50 years old who are elderly. How does that happen? Because their body is breaking down faster in this environment. Make sure you have relative movement to keep the blood flow going, but not too much, but not too little. So you see, you don't see me going to the gym. You don't see me going out there walking every day. You don't see me out there exercising. I don't need to. Dude, this environment is basically exercising my internal immune system, causing then my body to reinforce itself and build up muscle to support the system's growth and release. You see, before in the old world, it was all about superhuman strength. Build up your body to look like a specific prototype. Now you got to fucking survive. You got to build up the conditioning within. That's through sitting. When I'm watching Grey's Anatomy and I'm not out there working on stuff and I feel the heart palpitations, that's my heart is exercising when you think about it. And I eat food to support that conditioning process. And then when I have to go outside to go do the garbage and it's freaking cold outside and I go out there in shorts, I'm fast running to the garbage can. And I have the strength to do it. I have the muscles, I have the fat, I have the endurance, I have the adrenaline. That's your adrenal glands. And if I fall, I'm not going to break a hip. And if I cut myself, I'm not going to bleed out. Holy crap. Yeah. Everything is flipped now. Highly estrogenic women have a risk of high blood clot factors, which is why they need a balance of testosterone, which is why hot women are not surviving. Hormone imbalances causes propensity of blood clots. So you look at Jennifer Lopez, and she's hot looking. She's like 50-something years old, right? She has nice skin. She's a lot more to her versus someone like who is skinny. Let's say like Tara Reid. She's a little bit younger. But you see who now is going to look younger, longer, and it's Selma Hayek. And then you look at Jennifer Aniston. Less weight to her, you see the aging process are happening faster. Okay, so women that have more substance to them, like a Jennifer Lopez, will hold that relative equilibrium much better than someone who is like a Tara Reid or a Jennifer Aniston or, yeah. Well, you can look at Hollywood. And so, which is why hot women are not surviving. Hormone imbalances causes propensity of blood clots. What hormone can cause blood clots? Estrogens increase the risk of venous thrombosis when used as oral contraceptive or as postmenopausal hormone replacement. A similar effect was observed in men when estrogen was used as a treatment of coronary disease or in sex change treatment. Not just using contraceptives or hormone replacement therapy. Highly estrogenic women who are very skinny, trying to keep up with that specific image, and who knows what kind of therapies are on. Okay, yeah. Look, you're not going to know people's backgrounds, but when you see who the diet suddenlies are, mother of 3, mother of 10, mother of 5, and she's cute, and she's in her 30s, or maybe 40s. Yeah, I remember estrogen, highly estrogenic women like Kathleen Turner. She's highly estrogenic as a young lady back in when she was doing, what was that movie with Michael Douglas? I forget. But anyway, she was hot back then. And now you look at her, she looks more manly. The testosterone kicked in to balance out the estrogen. She's still a woman, but she's handsome. I'm still a woman, but I'm 50. But now, but she's probably more testosterone than estrogen. But when I eat meat, milk, cheese, eggs, and fruits and vegetables, and like I had cabbage with Asian dressing and noodles, I'm balancing out the hormones. And I'm not taking any hormone replacement therapy. I just eat food. Why did I do cabbage last night? Because, in this environment, there's so much growth, high acids going on. You got to still balance out with a little bit of alkaline. But I know that just from just what I feel and what I see and what I've eaten. I take an inventory of what I've eaten and what I feel and all this other stuff, and I eat what I need to eat. But you couldn't copy me and say, okay, now Jillian's eating cabbage, I'm only eating cabbage. No, some of you may need to have the milk and meat and the cheese and the eggs and the red meat and all that stuff now more than ever and be on it for a long time to make up what you've lost. That's why when I was doing all those ice cream bars and and whipped cream in my coffee. It was for many months at a time when I was eating those oranges every night, those Tangelos every night. I haven't bought an orange in such a long time because now it's too acidic for my body. I need more, well, it's too alkaline-y, acidic. I don't even want to say that because people get totally confused on that. But I just drink blueberry juice. I just drink apple juice to get my fruit sugars. Okay? Giant Eagle brand, Walmart brand, whatever. It's not like I'm trying to do organic. Okay? So I eat for what my body needs at the time during whatever climate change are going on. And I can feel and taste and observe my own biochemistry. And I understand what food is. It's not something that you use as medicine. It's something that you use to balance out things based upon what is going on at the time for you. That's why you can't compare yourself to somebody else and be like, oh, that person's only eating the Mediterranean diet, so that's what I'm going to do. That's celebrity worship. That's someone who just doesn't know any better. And they won't. So they should really listen to their doctor if they want to end up trying to prolong their life. But you know where that ends up, in the morgue. If you don't know how to do shit, you will listen to somebody else and it will work against you. Unless you understand how to observe yourself and your own hormones and what you're willing to deal with. And so when women reach a certain age and the body attempts to go back to balance, they won't look highly estrogenic or hot or soft. They look like handsome women, which is why you see people out there think every woman in Hollywood used to be a man. Not all of them. Okay, so yeah, you have Billie Eilish, that people are trying to compare Billie Eilish to someone like a Kathleen Turner or someone like a Cameron Diaz. Cameron Diaz wasn't a man in her beginning, but people are saying that she looked like a man because now that she has a few babies and she's older, she looks more handsome versus estrogenic. She looks more testosterone than estrogenic, but she wasn't a man, she was a woman. The sex programming was to encourage women to produce so much estrogen, but not too much and not too little. But the more estrogen they had, the more sexually appealing they would be. Which is why you have the hot chicks like Pamela Anderson, Anna Nicole Smith, who are not going to survive too long if they don't figure it out, which is why also they are preferred to be skinny because it keeps that hormone programming despite all the complications. But eventually then, you know, when you see women that are staying skinny and trying to stay hot, that you see the deterioration set in. The sunken in eyes, the sunken in skin, the papery thin skin, the papery thin lips. So you see how I met my husband and how hot I was. I was 37. But I met him when he was 36, he was 35, turning 36, and I was 36, turning 37. When we both were checking each other out on the dating app. Okay? So you see how I met my husband and how hot I was. I was also dealing with major hormonal imbalances, complications from being highly estrogenic, but I bagged myself a man. Or I was going to fucking die out there. And I also had something more than my body to offer him. I had brains. I have brains. And I knew what I had to offer to him, given where his background and where he was and what he was doing. I knew what I was doing, and I knew what I couldn't do, what I could do. And he was another resource, just like I was another resource in helping him get ahead. He was another resource to help me get ahead. And it was a nice balance. And he's my age. Well, he's 1 year younger than me. He's not 10 years younger than me or 10 years older or younger. He's right at my age. I'm dealing with my equal. And we both had something missing in our world that we both were able to fulfill. And that's why, I mean, it was a struggle the last 7 years for him to see why I needed to change, what I needed to change, or I was going to fucking die. Because he's highly testosterone filled, and I was estrogenic, but then I had to balance out or I would die being highly estrogenic. And an O positive. See, if I was an AB positive or negative, I would have stayed relatively the same and be like what he probably would think would be the ultimate woman and then die. Okay, but I'm O positive. I had to actually face who I really was an O positive. And I had to deal with that. And so you saw a couple years ago, well, more than that, before the Jilly Juice world, I saw some pictures of me when I was eating out to dinner, and I was just big. 2016, I was so... I was on my way to becoming big as a freaking house. And then the Jilly Juice world came in and switched that programming, drained all the fat, and drained all the immune system to nothing, till I was basically lipstick and bones and toothpicks. And then pandemic came around, gained weight. Remember when the pandemic came around and my hormones finally was able to go back online, my boobs were getting bigger. My belly was getting bigger. My legs were getting bigger. I was getting bigger. I couldn't even fit my clothes anymore. It was crazy, the changes that were going on. It accelerated the menopause. Oh, it was an amazing time when the pandemic first started, seeing those changes. Now that I look back on it, I'm like, okay, I know what's going on. And that's why these women are not surviving out there, because they are triggering aggressive early menopause, because they probably reached their hayflick limit a long time ago, but they were trying to resist it. And so when the climate changed, it then catapulted them into menopause. And now people are really just dealing with some shit, and they're not surviving it because they're resisting it, and they're trying to stay cured. And then of course the body can't do that. And so, okay. And so he's better off today, and so am I. Then I had to figure out how to save myself trying to stay married. Okay. So you saw that. You saw what I looked like when I was on the J juice in 2018. Very skinny. You could see the skin look thinner. I was missing fat and collagen, and that was before the pandemic. Today, I'm at the proper weight, fat and muscle and bone structure. I have conditioned myself for this environment. I don't deal with too much pain, hardly at all. And so when you're when you face the demons finally, and you actually change your life, you will earn the right to live on this earth, potentially indefinitely, if you're not taken out by nuclear war. But you can't live like, oh gosh, I'm going to get taken out by an atomic bomb, because who knows what's going to happen in the future. So I plan for the worst, hope for the best, and I stay grounded. And so to all the hot chicks out, this is where I got a little bone to pick with the hot chicks out there who think their shit doesn't stink. To all the hot chicks who think your shit doesn't stink, I used to be hot, but I wasn't snooty. I never acted like you. That's why I left California. So all of you hot chicks at 25 who think your shit does not stink and think you're better than me or anyone else, and I've met some of you, and you were snooty to me to my face, bitchy to me to my face, when that clock strikes midnight and everything will be as it was before. And you'll look like, or end up looking like, your mother or your grandmother when she turned 80 or 90. Or you'll die suddenly. Or you won't survive. Women had this curse built into us to see how we would act to others. And then biological karma is a bitch. Believe me, I know. I've had to deal with that biological karma for the last 7 years. More so the last 3 years. I even had to pay the piper for being so cute in my youth. And so if you are a hot chick and you're in pain right now, it's time to figure out how to save yourself or die in the agony of pain trying to stay cured and live up to everyone else's expectations. So please spare me that you think you're better than other girls because you're hot right now. It's not always worth being so hot and sexual, because at some point the devil does take his due. I want to live, not attract predators. I want my husband to live, and he is not replaceable. All right? And so some microbes can survive at high altitudes, including bacteria, fungi, archaea, and algae. These microbes can be found in habitats like glacier surfaces, rock walls, boulders, glacier waters, streams, and mineral soils. Okay, so when you hear about the Atlantic and even Europe potentially going to a future ice age, as you've seen in the climate change models and articles, when that Atlantic current is going to be like standing still, I guess. And so then there's going to be a mini ice age in Europe. All right, so when you have microbes that can be found in habitats like glacier surfaces and rock walls and boulders and glacier waters and streams and mineral soils, what do you think is going to happen during that time when there is a ice age? People are going to be dealing with microbes that are going to want to implant themselves and invade you, and you're going to have to figure out how to keep that relative equilibrium and survive it. Those in Europe. Okay, so according to climate change, central bacteria that are typically found in soils are more commonly found at high altitudes when air masses originate over land. When air masses originate over the oceans, marine bacteria are present in the upper atmosphere. So this is a high pressure area, but cold. Okay? And so a metagenomic study found that the proteobacteria, acidiobacteria, and actinobacteria are dominant bacteria phyla at high altitude soil. Bacteroidetes and firmicutes are found dominant at low altitude. According to Forbes, microbes are surviving at altitudes much higher than the majority of humans will ever reach. But when those altitudes come down to you, how does it happen? Because of pressure, air pressure. Okay, so yes, some microbes can live in lower altitude areas. For example, Bacteroides. Oh yeah, I said that right. And so microbes can also survive in the troposphere. Oh yeah, some microbes can live in lower altitude areas. For example, Bacteroidetes and firmicutes and dominant bacteria phyla at low altitudes. So high altitude, low altitude, high pressure, low pressure. Microbes can also survive in the troposphere, which is this lower level of Earth's atmosphere. Clouds in the lower level of the atmosphere can help keep microbes wet and transported around. Okay, so then you're looking at, all the particulates in the atmosphere. Some microbes can survive extreme conditions such as psychrophiles. These extremophilic organisms can grow and reproduce in low temperatures ranging from -20 or -4 Fahrenheit, -20 C, to 20 C or 68 Fahrenheit. They are found in permanently cold places such as the polar regions and the deep sea. Extremophiles. These microorganisms can tolerate and live under extreme physicochemical, geological, and nutritional conditions. They have evolved adaptation strategies at cellular, biochemical, and molecular levels. These are extremophiles. Bacteria can live in hotter and colder temperatures than humans, but they do best in warm, moist, protein-rich environment that is pH neutral or slightly acidic. And so when you can imagine when the climate changes from hot to cold, cold to hot, and fast, and oh my gosh, and all these microbes, there's the Candida auris, there's all these different microbes that people are passing back and forth and making stronger, because if you live in a diverse community, then you're going to see some extremophiles, psychrophiles, and bacteroidetes, and firmicutes. Okay, so all this climate change, and they're telling you all this climate, you're going to be dealing with some things that'll be pushing through your immune system, and you better have the conditioning in your blood vessels to be able to handle that. And so climate change, not only when the weather changes, but also when the barometric pressure changes, basically the same thing. When I climbed Mount Whitney when I was 19 years old, and we were doing the last set of switchbacks, I had a huge headache because of the air pressure. Okay, I don't have them anymore. That's the thing right now with this environment, and after me releasing the demons, overgrowth, and conditioning my blood vessels, conditioning my all my pipes. All right, ban from stream and delete comment. And when I condition my pipes to expand and contract and release and all that stuff, I don't get headaches anymore. No headaches. None. No more headaches. I used to get so many in the last 7 years, not anymore, because I faced those demons. So you see, third world countries will take someone who looks like a Westerner and take their profile and their picture and then sell you an herb or an extract. That's how the third world is going to take down the first world, because of the spamming of all their herbal remedies, all their supplements, all of their doctors that live in third world countries, that people go and do, medicine tourism, right? And they go and have somebody give them these concoctions, whether it's Ayurvedic stuff or ayahuasca or some herbal remedy for all of people's afflictions. And that's how the third world countries are going to take down the first world. And first world people are taking down themselves with all of their supplements and herbs and extracts. And so you see, you're going to be up against a lot when you have third world countries trying to pretend like they're Westerners, selling you everything under the sun to stop your body from releasing. And they're going to just take themselves out too, because they're taking all their concoctions, and they'll set themselves up for a die suddenly when their blood vessels pop from a mass amount of growth and not conditioned enough to release and take on substance. So I don't listen to third world countries and any of their recommendations, because they've been trained by the first world people who don't really get it, who are selling each other supplements and herbs and extracts and things to stop the body from releasing. And so, when the air pressure drops and rises extremely quickly or steadily rises or falls, air pressure could cause nosebleeds, even blood vessels popping, headaches. And so according to the medical news today, high air pressure can cause following symptoms: headaches that can last between 4 hours and 3 days, sensitivity to light, sound, and smells, nausea, abdominal pain, vomiting, distorted vision, mood and emotional changes, which often involve depression or anxiety, dizziness, more frequency yawning, speech changes. And according to the Sharp Healthcare, changes in barometric pressure are most commonly reported to be associated with headaches and migraines. The likelihood of a headache is also increased if there is already a congestion and blockage in the sinuses. People already block that. According to medicine.net, scientists suggest that a fall in the air pressure allows the tissues, including muscles and tendons, to swell or expand. This exerts pressure on the joints, resulting in increased pain and stiffness. Some symptoms of low air pressure include headaches. Barometric pressure headaches feel like typical headaches or migraine, but also may include nausea, vomiting, joint pain. A drop in air pressure can cause tissues like muscles and tendons to swell or expand. This can put pressure on the joints, causing increased pain and stiffness, shortness of breath. Dyspnea, or shortness of breath, is the feeling that you can't get enough air into your lungs. It might feel like your chest is tight, you're gasping for air, or you're working harder to breathe. Increased blood viscosity, thickness. When accompanied by the cold, a drop in barometric pressure can increase viscosity, thickness of the blood. Tracking incidents of joint pain ahead of weather shift can be helpful. And so, that's why people are dying suddenly too, when the barometric rises and falls so aggressively, and they also have a cold, which is antibodies developing so quickly. People drown in their own mucus and all this other stuff. All right, and so people affected by brain-altering cat parasite are more attractive. And then you have that kid that identifies as a cat. Can you imagine how many cat-altering or brain-altering cat parasites are in people's bodies that identify as animals and whatever? That's why you got to release demons if you want, but hey, let the system do with their experiments. If people identify something and they see nothing wrong with what they're doing and they don't want to see nothing wrong with what they're doing, and you can't force someone to go through pain and suffering of release and retention, let them be a cat. Just make sure they don't hurt anyone else or whatever. And if you know that's what the world that you're going into is surrounded by people who think they're cats, then you homeschool and you just like, God damn. Let them make their money and being kind of like a sideshow. Because how do you make money being a cat? Well, somebody who is not a cat, how do you make money identifying as a cat? Well, you have to have people who don't identify as a cat buying your time to observe you in your element. Because if everyone thought they were a cat, how do you have an innovative society? You can't. That's a double-edged sword of someone who's a minority who is biologically normal to them. That's how they're going to survive, is being that sideshow to those who don't have and share that type of thing. And you still got to respect them. Okay? That's what I'm saying. The world's going to be very interesting. Don't get too intolerant, okay? Oh, yeah. Shooting at Chiefs Super Bowl parade leaves several injured. Yep. We're headed into that world now. So number, okay. So, yeah, so the 2024 eclipse in April 8th, they're saying that there's going to be outsiders over here in Ohio. They have set to close down all the schools, not all of them, a lot of them in the northeast area, because the eclipse is going to go right through the northeast in this area. Not all the schools in Ohio, but just some of them. And so I don't know if that's going to be a proxy to the next war. Who knows? Was 2017 the beta testing to see what happens when you have that? And was that giving people then information of why they're saying stay home and stay safe? Don't go out during that time. Don't get in your car because something else might be going on. You don't know. And then you hear the Butler County Sheriff saying that we're in a bad place. There are people who are going to do horrible things, blah, blah, blah. And then you have the Summit County Sheriff saying stay home on April 8th. So you can read between the lines, whatever, look at all the numbers around that. I mean, I'm staying home. And have food, okay? Yeah, have food. Because, what do they say? County leaders, along with emergency planners and experts from NASA and the National Weather Service, held an online town hall gathering on County Executive Eileen Shapiro's Facebook page to discuss the potential impacts of the total eclipse will have on Summit County. Why just Summit County? You think everyone from wherever are going to go and descend on just Summit County? Well, why not Stark County? We're right next to Summit County. Why doesn't the Stark County Sheriff come out and say everyone's, see, that's the thing. It's just not everything adds up. So just read between the lines, okay? Anything is possible. Just assume everything's possible. And so what you need to do is the following should be included in your basic disaster supply kit, right? 3-day supply of non-perishable food and manual can opener. 3-day supply of water, 1 gallon of water per person per day. Okay, so we're getting almost a 2-month warning. We're in the middle of February. And so if there was going to be anything happening, it would be during the time where there'd be an expected chaotic event like traffic and eclipse event. And so Butler County Sheriff warned us for things to come. Summit County Sheriff warned us. They said stay home that day. I'm staying home. I would listen to them if you're in Ohio. Okay, so, yeah. Okay, spontaneous combustion, 9 months pregnancy is in 1 month at the micro and macro level. Okay, so that's what the whole Alien movies are about, was something growing that fast in a short amount of time, splitting open that person of a blood vessel or inside a person, blood vessels. That's why you have to condition your immune system to be strong to push through that growth, those blood clots that the embalmers are pulling out of blood veins in people. So I'm going to read both of these here, which is why skinny girls need adipose tissue or fat, their immune system. The days of looking like a hot yoga instructor with a 6-pack are over. No give, too much resistance, training, blood vessels breaking, too much give, blood vessels break down, too soft. All the gym rats, what the hell are you doing? Causing too much resistance. And so this guy, M. Rivera, is like, training like a sumo wrestler makes a bit of sense considering they eat all food, at least 10,000 calories per day, and train to gain weight. Oh, and I'm not mistaken, they take a lot of naps evenly spaced out during the day. It certainly does not look or tries to be for everyone else. Yeah. And so I'm like, yeah, that's a great, interesting perspective. Very relevant. Absolutely. And that's what these skinny girls have to do. They have to train to gain the fucking weight. You guys are right on. And so spontaneous combustion, too much, not enough resistance causes snap or breakage. That's why you have to know you can survive disease and eat all food. Why do you think your DNA and blood vessels rely on? What do you think your DNA and blood vessels rely on? Sugar, salt, amino acids, proteins, gluten, calcium. Your DNA needs glucose. It needs so much food people are deficient in because of food intolerances. The body needs all food, all food. How many of you are made up of toothpicks and makeup, or full of billowy pillows, or muscles as hard as rocks? It is all biology and physics, expand and contract, tolerance for different types of speed of expansion and contraction, and you need to support that mechanism correctly with all food. And so if you spontaneous bleed and you still are alive, keep eating. If you have a heart attack or a stroke, keep eating. Because it's only going to get worse and you won't survive the next energy conversion. Still see your doctor. Okay, I can't tell someone who's had a heart attack or stroke or prone to that not to see a doctor. And I'm not telling them not to eat whatever they can or whatever their doctor says, but you need meat, milk, cheese, eggs, and all that stuff. You have to be able to handle the expansion and contraction based upon the growth in the body and the barometric pressure. If your doctor puts you on a diet, okay, but expect the worst in the future. And Audrey goes, made of toothpicks and makeup. Ha ha. Sometimes I just come out with that stuff because I see it. I see the girls out there. They're all hair, lips, and nails, or toothpicks with makeup, and a few pillows to give them something to play with. That's what we have trained our society to do, is treat women like that. And so the biological rapture, it's a conditioning process to release demons of overgrowth. People will spontaneously combust if they don't understand how to open up portals in their body. Spontaneous combustion, the ignition of organic matter, without apparent cause, typically through heat generated internally by rapid oxidation. Rapid oxidation refers to the process in which a material burns rapidly and produces light and heat in the presence of oxygen. It may even cause an explosion. That's supernova. That's died suddenly. That's heart attack, strokes, and drowning in the mucus, and that's aneurysms. People harbor so much diverse microbes inside, they are a sitting duck for rapid oxidation when the climate changes. That's spontaneous diarrhea and blood vessels bursting. I hope you survived the energy conversion. That's what disease X, Y, and Z will be. And right now, people are compounding the issues with every single remedy and diet and drug they're addicted to, even alcoholics. Spontaneous combustion doesn't mean that it's literal spontaneous. You just can't see the energy catalyzing the microbes in the body. I feel the energy when it's hot. Yesterday, I was sitting in my bed, right? I'm watching Grey's Anatomy, and I'm watching the sun come through the slats of my blinds, and I hear the sound of my window crackling from that sunbeam. And then the sun goes behind the clouds, and okay, everything's great. And the sun comes back in and it shines on that window, and I hear it crackling. I'm like, Jason, oh my God. Does the vinyl siding, does that expand and contract? He's like, yes. I'm like, what do we do? We're going to get burned out, right? But no, so that's the thing, is that you can't even see the energy because it's the sun. It's the particles that are reflecting conductive material causing the rapid expansion and contraction. All right, so spontaneous combustion doesn't mean that it's literally spontaneous. You just can't see the energy catalyzing the microbes in the body. If you try to stop the body from releasing, and that pressure will cause spontaneous combustion. That's called died suddenly. That's why you don't want to be too big or too small, because you must have just enough resistance or give to survive rapid energy conversion, rapid expansion, and contraction. That's physics. Okay? And so, yeah. So you see how people put emphasis on being a hottie. You see that. It's not about being a hottie. You have to survive this. Hot chicks are not going to survive this if they don't figure out how to redirect. And those who are in their 30s and 40s and even their 50s and they're trying to be a hot chick, I don't know how many lifelines you already used, but you might use them all up and it may not get another chance. Some of you are stuck in that, and I understand. So that's it. Have a good day. Bye.